Alright, ladies and gents, sorry for the delay. There was a pause due to hotkeys that had to be sorted out between these two players, but we are about ready to go into the game. I think everyone's probably guessed at the guy that Root has sent out. Let's see if his heart is in it. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you Root's Yu-Gi-Oh! He is in the blue trunks. He is playing Zerg to the northwest of this particular map. Yes, indeed, Belshir Vestige. Versus opponent, the man, the bringer of death, the fourth horseman of the apocalypse. He is in the red trunks. He is playing Terran to the southeast. He has currently brought death to Sage. He has brought death to succeed, and he is looking to try and take out Yu-Gi-Oh! That's going to be a tough task. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a monster. Absolute monster. He's not going to be messing around here. Evidently, it seems that Root have decided that feeding Protoss to Apocalypse is not a very good idea right now. Both Protoss have struggled against him. Succeed almost had him with the big two-base play, but unfortunately ended up in a base trade against a Terran, in which the Terran kept 3 command centers alive and a bunch of barracks. So you've really got a limited time in that situation to hunt down and destroy the production and destroy the mining capability of the Terran before the Terran catches up and beats you, especially when you've lost everything. And unfortunately, while Succeed scouted one base, he didn't kill it, and he missed the other one. So he even has Zealots actually standing in the main mineral line for ages, missing mules, which was really unfortunate. It was on hold position. That would have sucked. I mean, even taking out those mules could have made some difference there, but it did not. Alright, hatchery before pool right here for Yu-Gi-Oh! 14 supply hatch down to the bottom here, and we're seeing standard barracks wall off with gas. Interesting. Very interesting. Could be a Marine, then into a Reaper, or it could be something else entirely. But if you're getting gas at this stage, you're going to use it for something. The question is, what? What? Will it be a Reaper? Well, he's building up 100 gas, so it looks like it's going to straighten the factory. We might see a Widowmine drop here. We could see some Hellbat play. We could see all sorts of different things. We could even see Banshees. I know, we haven't seen those in a while, have we? No, absolutely not. There's a reason for that. You can build Spore Crawler without an Evolution Chamber. It's like, why the hell would you want to build a Banshee in this matchup? Generally speaking, you don't now. Now, note the timings. Note the factory, and note the reactor. Factory's going to finish a bit before the reactor, but what this could mean is a swap around immediately into Widowmine. It could just be Hellions. I mean, you know, as old school as it seems, it could just be a Hellion expand here from Apocalypse, but there are a lot of other factors you now need to consider in Heart of the Swarm. It could be bloody anything. Really could. In the meantime, Yu-Gi-Oh! Will be the one left to respond to it. He's taken 1 gas, so he'll be getting his speed up fairly shortly. And there's the CC, and now we found out exactly what this is for. Is it for Widowmines? Is it for Hellions? It's got to be one of the two. Which is it? It is Hellions. Classic. Alright. A little bit of a Hellion contain going on. Obviously not as effective as they used to be a long time ago. The Queen buff pretty much put a stop to Hellion expands as a really viable way of doing things. To be fair, before the Queen buff, Zergs were struggling heavily against this build. Now it's not so effective, but here comes that Armory. This is what this leads into. The Armory coming down so early can only mean one thing. Well, it can mean several things, but generally speaking, especially on 1 gas, it can only mean one thing, and that is Hellbats. Widowmines now following up here. Only 2 Hellions. I like that. 2 Hellions straight into the Widowmines is a great idea. Don't overcommit to the Hellions. Doesn't make a lot of sense. You might think, but you can turn them into Hellbats. You can't. You need transformation servos to do that, which is actually a lot of gas, and most people don't build it. Because you can still build Hellbats, you just can't turn Hellions into Hellbats and vice versa. So you have a slightly less flexibility, but you don't want to spend that gas on that anyway, right? So Armory's on the way up, and there's the Starport. We will be seeing Hellbats coming in. We might still see transformation servos, but it's not really worth it for 1 Hellion. These Hellions are going to die. Decent amount of damage being done, though. That was totally worth it. 5 drones killed for that attack there by Apocalypse. Absolutely. I would take that any day of the week. Apocalypse now deploying those defensive Widowmines. Decent position here and there. The CC, of course, is quite late for Apocalypse. This was a Hellion expand, and now he's building Hellbats. Now, what we're going to see, most likely, is it could be a 1 or 2 Hellbat drop. Generally speaking, I like 2. 2 is nice. If you get 2 Medivacs and 4 Hellbats, then what you can do is you can drop 1 set in the mineral line, and then you can drop the other ahead of the mineral line. Widowmine takes out a lot of those lings, so this will get cleaned up very, very easily indeed. I don't think he spotted the Hellbats there, but he did see the factory with the reactor. He can suspect Hellbat. Did he see the Starport? Yes, he did. So I would imagine that he is suspecting Hellbat or Widowmine drop right now. How do you deal with them? Well, roaches will certainly help. They don't kill Hellbats as fast as you would hope that they would, but it can happen. The problem is, when you get pinned into your base by Hellbat drops, it allows the Terran player to take a third, and it makes it more difficult for you to take your third base, which is what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just trying to do right now. The Hellbat drop won't really do much to the third base, but what it will do is do damage to the natural. With no static defense in place, a Hellbat drop could be very dangerous here. The question is, of course, how many Hellbats does he go for? Currently, he has 4 on the field with a single medevac now moving over there. There's the drop. Hellbats at the front defensively. And he can drop onto the third. It won't do anything. There's really no point in doing that. And unfortunately, it also reveals the drop a little bit too early, I feel. He has to defend against this roach aggression that's coming along with Lings here. They're not speed roaches, so they get trapped in the middle of the map, they're going to die pretty quickly. But the thing is, all he's got, really, to fight here is a bunch of Hellbats, which is not that great. This choke point is not that narrow. He doesn't have any Marauders here. The Widow Mines have been detonated already there by the Lings. Here comes the Hellbat drop. He's actually duking out there, and he's going to go straight for the main. He's actually a bit worried about this aggression at the front here. Yu-Gi-Oh! Just going for this big roach timing. Dangerous roach timing as well. Hellbats won't defend against this. He's going to take some damage. There's no question about that. The question is, how much damage does Yu-Gi-Oh! Take in return from the Hellbat drop? Hellbats need to be targeted fired properly. He's going to end up losing this medevac as well. He's not microing here. He's too worried about these roaches. I don't really blame him. He wants to get a surround so he can get good AoE on the Hellbats here. But, I don't know. We'll see. Apocalypse still continue to try and work at it, and these Hellbats actually have no idea what they're doing and get eliminated with only about 8 workers killed. Apocalypse looks to have got the cleanup there, but he lost actually less workers than I would have thought. Wow, that was a great defense by Apocalypse, actually. You would have thought, considering there were roaches in your mineral line, you'd lose more, but at the end of the day, they're not speed roaches. They're not going to be catching SCVs anytime in a million years, so Apocalypse held that nicely, and the surround allowed the Hellbats to get the cleanup, and now he's going to drop a second set and a third. Hopefully this Hellbat drop, now that he's not under roach pressure, will be significantly more effective than the last one. The last one really wasn't worth it, in my opinion. But now this one, on the other hand, now this one should be pretty dangerous. Roaches are on the way to try and get the cleanup. I like this. This is a bit of a trick here by Apocalypse. What he does is he drops slightly in front of the hatchery because he knows that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is going to be trying to pull those drones off the mineral line. Great micro here as well. Loses 1, but does significant damage. Now moving towards the third base. Maybe a bit of damage being done here as well. Let's see how good this micro really is from Apocalypse. It's pretty good. Yu-Gi-Oh! Now on the defensive. Trying to build more static defense, building Spore Crawlers, trying to tech to lair, which he's managed to do right now. But he is being menaced by Hellbats. Which sounds like the title to a terrible horror B-movie. Menaced by Hellbats 2, The Reckoning. Apocalypse not really able to drop on the third base right now because of these roaches and the Spore Crawler. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Is starting to stabilize quite nicely. And surprisingly enough, Apocalypse is on a fairly low amount of SCVs. He is now trying to get his third base up, but the third base is fully operational for Yu-Gi-Oh! So things are looking good there. Finally getting that Roach speed up and looking to get the Infestation Pit. Roach Infester. Alright. Could of course be for Swarm Hosts as well. Bear that in mind. That the Infestation Pit does not just build Infestors these days. Swarm Hosts can work very, very well against a player that doesn't use tanks. Which is exactly what we're seeing here from Yu-Gi-Oh! He's primarily building Hellbats and Marines, which is great for dealing with Lings and Roaches, not so good for dealing with Swarm Hosts. Hydraless Den coming down as well. It could just be Roach Hydra Infester. Double Evolution Chamber, interestingly enough now, finally coming down as +1 for infantry is completing here for Apocalypse. That was a nice run by Yu-Gi-Oh! Very slow on the response there and takes a lot of damage in the process. That was totally worth it. Losing that medevac was not exactly ideal, but that's now 28 workers killed. That puts Yu-Gi-Oh! Down to 53. Nice little lead. Another drop comes in here by Apocalypse, using Marines as well this time around. And gets out of there with the majority of his units intact. Doesn't really kill any drones with it, but is able to keep his opponent honest. Now Apocalypse just moving back into position. Finally be able to get that Overseer out of the way. So we will be seeing Hydralisks. It looks like we're not going to be seeing Swarm Hosts anytime soon. Probably just Roach Hydra Infester for the time being, which is totally fine. Apocalypse is in a good spot, though. He's defended well against that initial Roach aggression. He's now ahead in terms of his economy. I say that specifically because he now has a third base up and he's dropping mules. His opponent's lost a lot of drones. 30 in total here. Now comes the push. He's going to try and make his way through these rocks. It'll take him a little bit of time to do so, so it does give Yu-Gi-Oh! Some time to prepare. Admittedly, that supply block is not going to help him in any way, shape, or form. Thankfully, he was already building 4 Overlords before that happened. Zerg Missile attack upgrade now coming in. Apocalypse with the upgrade advantage. +1 on the Hellbats, +1 on the Marines as well. Nice little mixed composition here. Seems a bit inefficient because you have to build 2 separate sets of upgrades, but they are both healed by medevacs. However, the question is, how well do they do against this? If they can't get into position against these Hydralisks, things could end up being very messy. Thankfully, he's got enough to bust that through. Another stim could prove to be dangerous against that force, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Realizes that and he backs off. There's aggression coming forward. Marine Marauder, Hellbat, medevac. Here comes the flank. Couple of Hellbats get eliminated at the back right there. Stimming forward. Apocalypse now in a position where he's got to fight or try and get out of there. Bad position for the Hellbats. They're not able to throw here by Yu-Gi-Oh! But does he have enough? The Hellbats are almost dead. I mean, he will be able to take this Hydralisk force out, but the aggression was blunted as well. It does still put Apocalypse ahead in terms of his supply count, however. Roaches now move into play and are immediately thrown back by the superior composition. Still Marauders available there for Apocalypse. That one Marauder is just a hero right now, busting his way through those Roaches. There's like 1 medevac per person. Personal medical service available right here. Great insurance policy for these guys. And Apocalypse now going to take his third. Alright. Well, both of these guys butting heads right now, but Apocalypse in the lead in terms of his army count. Things are looking good for him right now. He has killed 30 workers total versus 7. He hasn't done a Hellbat drop since. He went for that full-on aggression. It didn't kill any economy, but it did, of course, force an army trade. And Apocalypse is actually fine with that, I feel. If he takes his third base, he should be absolutely fine. A lot of Hydralisks were lost by Yu-Gi-Oh! There. Not really ideal for him. He needed those. Now he's going for another engagement here. Hydras are now being moved back into position. Not an ideal position. Hellbats are stuck at the back here. Don't like that here from Apocalypse whatsoever. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Still trying to deal with it, but this army, I think, for Apocalypse is just a little bit too big. The Roaches will die. And then the Hydras are going to take some damage as well. It looks like Yu-Gi-Oh! Gets the trade in his favor just. The reinforcements were a little bit too late, and wow, what a different battle would that have been if Apocalypse's Hellbats had actually been at the front there instead of the rear, unable to contribute to the fight. That was unfortunate. Could have got a better engagement there, and that's actually given Yu-Gi-Oh! A good opportunity to try and catch up. He's still behind in supply, but things are looking pretty decent for him right now, and he's now getting Infestors onto the field, and that's where things really start to change. It's going to give him that drop defense. It's going to give him the ability to take down those big balls. Yeah, take him down. Yeah, you heard me. Apocalypse is going to be using a composition which likes to group up a lot because of the limited range. The Hellbats only have a range of 2. That means you have a big ball of Marine Marauder Medevac Hellbat that is ripe for the Fungalin. And that could happen. Yu-Gi-Oh! Picks that up. Apocalypse, I don't think, knows about the Infestors yet. Has he spotted it? He knows about the Infestation Pit. He doesn't know that there's any out, I don't think. Pretty sure he hasn't seen them. Hellbat's now moving into position. Attempted 4th base has been shut down here. So there's a couple of things you can do from this position with 7 Infestors. You can use them for defense, or you can use them for attack. Burrow, however, has not been researched, so he's not going to be attacking anytime soon with Infestors because he's not going to be able to sneak them up. Unfortunate, actually. Prime position to go in Infested Terran and just obliterate this natural here. Another supply block here for Apocalypse. Needs to clear that fairly quickly. It is slowing down his production, starting to float quite a lot of money. 4th base being established again. No doubt Apocalypse will try and snipe that. His medevac count is at 16, which is actually ridiculous. He's got a lot of Marines. He's got a lot of Hellbats. He's on 80 SCVs, if you can actually believe that. It's going to limit Apocalypse's army size towards the late game, admittedly, so that could cause him some problems. Hive Tech is now coming out on the way here for Yu-Gi-Oh! Burrow is being researched 2-2 as well, but upgrades-wise, Apocalypse has a significant advantage for the next couple of minutes. So this might be a time when Apocalypse wants to try and strike the 3rd base. He seems to be defending against aggression that isn't coming here. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is showing no sign of doing that. He's trying to build up his max ball army and trying to build up this energy as well. And obviously waiting for 2-2, I would imagine. Drop comes in. A couple of Marines here and there. We'll be able to do some damage, not a huge amount. And here comes that attack. It's a 2-pronged, of course. The army moving across the map. This 4th base is most assuredly doomed. The question is, will an engagement be forced? Will Yu-Gi-Oh! Be able to land those fungals? If he does, he may be able to crush this army. Well, let's see. Can he get the fungals off? Magic fungals. Does he get them? He has activated his trap card. Is it going to be enough? The fungals are not great, but they're still pretty good. The Roaches are at the back, not the front. The Hydras are taking so much damage here. Will it be enough? Will Yu-Gi-Oh! Be able to hold this? Only just, I think, one more fungal. One more fungal on the medevacs would be so wonderful right now. Doesn't get the follow-up. Oh, can he land one more? That would be so huge right now. He hits it! He hits it! All the medevacs are going down. This is massive for Yu-Gi-Oh! Wow. Great engagement for him. Absolutely wonderful. Saves Well, it doesn't save it, it died. But he reestablishes his 4th base, and he kills a ton of medevacs there. Not as many as I would have liked. Another fungal would have been great, but he had no energy left. Yu-Gi-Oh! Takes that engagement nicely. Could have been a bit better, of course. Roaches at the front would have made more sense than Hydras at the front there. But that was pretty good. That puts Yu-Gi-Oh! In a good spot. Apocalypse lost a lot there. He's having to reinforce rapidly. Apocalypse's macro is, of course, great. Barely floating any money right now. Building 9 Marines at a time. Getting upgrades left, right, and center. Looking for +3 here. Apocalypse is going to have +3 any minute, actually. And this is actually going to make a big difference. If he can rebuild that army and force another engagement against those low-energy infestors now, he could be in a wonderful spot. Scouts the army coming in. Quick boost out of the way. Doesn't want to get fungled again. The thing is, Apocalypse's army is still quite small, relatively speaking. You might look at his supply and think, look at the size of his army. And you've got to realize a lot of that supply is in workers. He's on 83 versus 63. Admittedly, a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Supplies in Roaches as well, but he still has 11 Hydralisks that are fairly well upgraded. He does have an upgrade disadvantage right now. Infantry armor level 3 is about to kick in. I would imagine that's going to trigger Apocalypse to go again and see what he can do. 4th base has now been established for Apocalypse as a planetary fortress. That puts him significantly ahead. I mean, he's been ahead in terms of his economy the entire time. So we need another good engagement from Yu-Gi-Oh! Otherwise, he's going to lose that 4th base. This is all or nothing right now for Yu-Gi-Oh! I feel. He's got to hold out against this. He's got to watch out for those infestors here. Fungal goes off. Not a great one. Left flank gets hit, but not so good either. Will that Hydralisk DPS be enough? Another fungal lands on the right. This is a good one. Can he get that full up? He's got to get that full up. He's got to keep those units away from the Hydras. He can't take so much damage on the Hydralisks. But he wasn't quite able to grab that fungal growth. Yu-Gi-Oh! Plummeting in supply right now. Apocalypse's upgrade advantage coming into effect right now as the 4th base is getting battered. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is plummeting right now. He was not able to get that engagement he needed. He wasn't able to land the fungals he needed to keep them away from the 4th base, keep them out of range of the Hydralisks. That didn't happen, and Apocalypse just went to town on his 4th. 185 supply out of 125. Yu-Gi-Oh! Showing no signs of transitioning out of this. He is going range. He is building Hydralisks. He is building Infestors. No sign of Greater Spire. No sign of Ultralisk Cavern. Even if he did, Ultra Cavern would be such a bad idea right now, considering he would not have any melee upgrades. It would be such a wonky transition. What else can he add? He could add Vipers into this composition. Viper with Fungal is amazing, because you can't get out of it. It's wonderful, especially if you've got Hydras to then do all the damage. But that he needs to get Vipers, and is he going to be able to do that? No, not really. Swarm Host, not really something that makes sense, especially considering the number of upgrades. I don't know. I mean, you could, but right now Apocalypse is just going to Doom Drop. I thought Yu-Gi-Oh! Had spotted that, but I guess not. His Hydras are in a good position to respond, though. If Apocalypse decides to drop this base, then the Hydras should be able to shut it down very, very rapidly. Single Marauder. Oh, that is so sneaky! Apocalypse, you sneaky individual. Look at that. Oh, man. He drops a single Marauder to trigger the Hydras to move, and then he goes for the main. The question is, can he do anything with it? Fungal Growth lands. Quick split by Apocalypse. Nice reaction times. We're loving that. So not a lot of damage done whatsoever. Infested Terrans now dumped down. 4th base, no chance. 3rd base taking fire right now. The main brunt of Apocalypse's army now finally with a siege tank. He remembered to build one after 25 minutes. Yu-Gi-Oh! Moving with the majority of his Hydras, losing some in the process as well, which is not what he wants. 183 to 133. Drop shut down. Maybe we take a second medevac for that. GG, says Yu-Gi-Oh! Apocalypse is on a roll. He's on a rampage. And right now, he is looking to take out everything that Root holds dear. It's ace match time for Root. They can bring out anybody. Who do they bring out against Apocalypse? All of their top Korean players basically got beaten into the floor by this guy. Who do they bring out? A good question. We'll find out after this break, folks. Can Root hold on? Can they come back from a 4-1 disadvantage? We will find out very shortly. Don't go anywhere. All right, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for potentially the final match? Because Apocalypse is on a rampage right now. He wanted revenge for Hyun, and my god, is he bringing it. This is some scary stuff, folks. Some very scary stuff. Now, what has Root done? Well, they've done what I would have honestly expected from them, which is to send out Yu-Gi-Oh! Again to try and actually beat Apocalypse. He seemed like the only one who was really close, unless you count Succeed, which was a base trade scenario, which was really weird. All right, folks, here we go. This one is going to be on Ohana, not Belshir Vestige. I know they look quite similar. Root Yu-Gi-Oh! Returns from the grave to fight against his opponent. He is in the blue trunks. He is playing Zerg to the northwest versus his opponent. This man, Apocalypse. Good God, this guy. After his poor performance last week, I was kind of surprised. But, I mean, this time he has just played so well. Oh, God. Quantic's just terrifying right now as a direct result of this, man. I mean, they've got Hyun, and now they've got Apocalypse, who is doing so much work here. Okay, so, you got a 4-1 advantage. You got Yu-Gi-Oh! Coming out again. What do? Well, that barracks is a little bit early. It's a little earlier than you would expect. I'm down at around 10 supply there. We'll see if any gas comes down. I don't know if that really means anything. Yeah, gas is coming down. Alright. Indicates, I would think, a Reaper opening. As far as I can tell. Yu-Gi-Oh! Moves in to have a look-see. Sees what he can see. Which is, that barracks is a little bit early. That gas is there a little bit early. Look at the HP on this thing. That shouldn't be at that at this time. I know this. What are you planning? Well, Yu-Gi-Oh's going to be a little bit annoying. He managed to get in, of course, before the supply depot went down, so it's going to be irritating to say the least. He'll have to deal with that. We're not going to see a Reaper out immediately, as you might imagine. We will see a Marine, though. That early gas, though, what does it mean? The problem is it can't really mean anything until this bloody drone is gone. Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually... It's like, no, you're not getting out. Apocalypse, I thought, was being polite there. There it is. It will be a Reaper, of course. That would make sense. It's a slightly earlier Reaper at a slightly wonky time, but it's not really a huge deal. Refinery dumped down here by Apocalypse to prevent the drone from escaping. He doesn't actually want to mine from that yet. Now he's going to reestablish it. But the drone could have very easily stolen that gas and then swapped in and out, and could have been just a general pain in the ass. Right now, the pool is up, so we're going to be seeing a queen coming up momentarily. So what does this Reaper do? Well, you know, it's not certainly not an 888, but there will be a second Reaper coming in here. So Apocalypse is going to rely on some early game micro to do some damage. Apocalypse now moving across the map. What can he do with it? Well, he's not going to be able to do anything to the natural because there's nothing there to do. He's going to have to move into the main base. Maybe a case that Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually decides to move his queens all the way back there. The queens, of course, not done yet, so this Reaper has kind of free reign until the queens come out. And the second Reaper's coming in. Beautiful save by Yu-Gi-Oh! Loving it. Grabs himself an extractor to make sure that that drone does not die, which has wasted a lot of time here for this Reaper. There's now a queen up. He needs 2 Reapers if he wants to try and kill that. He's not going to be able to do that anytime soon. Currently, Apocalypse's Gambit isn't really working out so far for him. He takes 1 drone. 1 drone for 2 Reapers, not so good yet. He's still building Reapers. He has 2. He's actually looking for 3 here, so he really wants to make this work. Apocalypse, in the meantime, building a command center. Generally speaking, you'll never see more than 3. I'd be very surprised if we saw any more than that. The barracks, I would think, would then be used to build an add-on, maybe. He's going to build a Widow Mine defensively first, but there are now 3 Reapers on the field. Alright, let's see where they are. Here they are. 3 Reapers now moving around. Now, he's got to do damage here. What can he do with 3 Reapers? You can kill queens. You can snipe quite a lot, actually. Which is pretty cool. Speed is not done yet either, so Ling's going to have difficulty shutting this down. There's no static defense, so he may be able to turn this into something. Ooh, that was a big mistake. Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually moves his queens off creep. Everyone is down there. This is going to be a free buffet here for Apocalypse. Goes right for the drone line. Takes 1, takes 2. Doesn't want to get surrounded. That would be a critical error. There we go. Takes out a couple of drones and is now moving out. Is he going to lose a Reaper? No, he's not. So that's good. That's going to regenerate very, very quickly here. Nice little maneuvers. I'm still not entirely convinced it's paid for itself yet, but it's okay. It's okay. Not too shabby. Apocalypse now going to burrow into place. Make sure all is well and good. And now he's going to pull the Reapers back, at least for the time being. At this point now, with this many queens, there's not... Oh, he's building more Reapers. I haven't seen this before. I gotta say, this is not a build that I've seen before. He's actually going Reactor Reaper with a starport. What? Sorry, what? I assume this is for Widowmine dropping here. Because obviously, you know, a Medevac Reaper is the most inefficient thing in the world. There's no point. Marines are just better than them in every possible respect, but... That's so weird. He's still building Reapers. All 5 of these are actually going to get spotted here as well. It's like, why do you have 5 Reapers? You want to explain that to me? Lift them. There we go. Doesn't want to reveal that. Really doesn't want to reveal those 5 Reapers, but he has no choice. 7 Reapers now. Hellions. What? Oh. This looks like a variant of the old Boxer build, the Hellion Reaper drop. This is I don't know, though. I mean, even now, it's so weird, because the Reaper's not even the same unit. That was a Wings of Liberty build. But having so many Reapers is just so bizarre. Especially with a medevac. These things aren't going to die anytime soon, I don't think. They can be evacuated. He can lift them up quite easily to avoid surrounds by Lings, and this Reaper push is coming in right now. Hellions are going to come in as well, and he'll be able to elevate and drop those into the main base. Going to try and focus fire down on the Queen. One goes down. Looks for the surround here. Can't really get it, especially not off creep. Oh, yeah. Also, because you never see this ever, you could fit 8 Reapers into a medevac. Just FYI. It's not 4, it's 8. You cannot surround this. This is unsurroundable. Unless he makes a colossal mistake. He can pick them up and leave straight away. And that second medevac that's coming in can draw... If Apocalypse is trying to draw all of these forces out of position so he can actually Hellion drop, then that will be absolutely gorgeous. More Reapers. He has 9 Reapers right now. He's working on +1. Hasn't got it yet. Obviously, +1 for Reapers is a massive upgrade because they fire 2 shots and they fire... single overlord making its way in there. And they fire 4 damage. So if you get 5 damage on that, that's actually huge. Reaper, Hellion. Intriguing. Seems to be working pretty well for him, honestly. Like, Ling Queen does not kill this. It really does not. You can evacuate those Reapers, and you can use the Hellions to do serious damage here as well. But, honestly, since he hasn't made his way into the mineral line yet, I'm still not entirely convinced by this. This is still strange. It's just this weird build that isn't really doing anything. It's like, oh, how fancy is this? But it's not killing any drones. It's not doing damage to the economy. I think there was maybe a lost opportunity there where he could have actually dropped into the main base. But Yu-Gi-Oh! Is actually on a patrol path here to make sure that nothing drops. In comes the Reaper Hellion Force now with +1. They're hitting for 10 this time around. That's pretty dangerous. Pretty dangerous. Queen's now moving into position. These Reapers should be able to take these down pretty handily as long as they've got medevac support. One comes down. Nice transfuse. Actually, I think he missed the transfuse there. I don't think that actually had any damage on it at all, so it was a terrible transfuse, but hey, there we go. Apocalypse now looking for the drop here. Does Yu-Gi-Oh! See it? Yeah, he doesn't. Drop comes in, he's got to respond quickly. If he responds quickly, then this drop won't do too much damage. Yu-Gi-Oh's slow. Yu-Gi-Oh's really slow. Wow, that was not a good response to that at all. And Apocalypse is able to deny mining time here. Take down a few drones here and there. That's 7 killed. So far, I'm still not convinced. Still not convinced. I don't think that this is going to be quite enough. But he is now trying to take his 3rd base. The Spire. That is an answer to this. No question about that. Reaper Hellion is terrible against Mutalisk in every possible way. So, that'll probably work. But it's so weird, isn't it? I don't know. You're going to have to show me more, I think, with this build for me to be convinced that that was a really good idea. Stim is extremely late as a result of this build. He's sunk all of his gas into Reapers. So... he's now with unshielded +1 unstimmed Marines. Stim is about to finish, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Should be fairly well prepared for this. He is, however, in the middle of an awkward transition. He's got his Spire up. He's saving a lot of gas for Mutalisks, as you can see. He's going to hit about 900 there, and then he's going to build either 8 Mutalisks and +1 or 9 Mutas. Might even wait a little bit longer. Building a lot of Lings, got a lot of Queens. Reapers at the front, now finally going to be absolutely obliterated because it turns out Reapers are terrible combat units, and that is not going to work out so well for Apocalypse yet. Doesn't siege up, not as of yet. The Queens do their work here. No counter-drop play coming on from Apocalypse either, and eventually you think this would get shut down, but I mean, it's not a nice trade, really. The main reason being that those Marines are not getting surrounded and there were no Banelings up. The Queen's trying to work their way through here. Reaper's still alive. The Queens are actually going to die, especially with the Siege Tank support. So a wonky trade here. Finally, here come the Mutalisks, but there are now Marines on the field. They don't have shield yet, but they got +1/+1. So almost as good. Not quite. And now he's rolling out. Apocalypse now saturating his 3rd base. No 4th base has been taken by Yu-Gi-Oh! As of yet. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Just lost a lot of Queens, a lot of his ground army. He's now relying on Mutalisk play. So, what is the response from Apocalypse? Well, my response would be to roll across the map and try and kill him. Right now, though, there is a upgrade disadvantage about to kick in here for Apocalypse. Nice little Mutalisk attack on the 3rd base. Not responded to at all. Apocalypse now rolling forward. Army count supply is pretty even here. That was a big stim, and the medevacs are actually way behind. There are no Banelings, however. Oh, wow. Entire Overlord bank is gone there. Unfortunately, wasn't able to kill the evolution chambers before everything happened. Here come the Banelings now moving in. Target fire comes down. Great target fire by Yu-Gi-Oh! Is it going to be enough, though? Banelings coming in. And... I don't think you ever split against that many. I think with that many Banelings, you just accept your fate as gracefully as possible. So that was shut down. Took a lot to actually have it happen. That was a lot of Banelings traded, especially with those siege tank shots, but taking out the medevacs on the way back out is a huge boost for Yu-Gi-Oh! Puts him in a great position. Apocalypse now building Thors and 11 Marines at a time, looking for that 2-2. There is still this minute of advantage that Yu-Gi-Oh! May be able to turn into something, but his ground army is very small, so I think he's going to play primarily defensively with his Lings here, and then his Mutalisks will try and harass the third base. I mean, he did a good job. He actually took that CC down. Apocalypse was so dedicated to that attack that he wasn't able to defend it. That is a huge win for him, and he's about to complete his fourth base as well. Very nice. And look at that creep spread as well. More than halfway across the map. That's definitely advantageous. No question about that. I like that a lot. Single Marine spots. All right, folks, we are back. Blame Time Warner, blame Twitch. I don't care which. Whichever works. Just a random drop for no apparent reason because of the broadcast delay. It took a while to get the stream back up. But we are now able to go back into the game. Once again, my apologies for this and the fact that this game will be started a little bit earlier than it should. Okay, here we go, folks. Just triple check that this is working the way it's supposed to be. Yes, it would appear to be. Cool. Alright, sweet. That was irritating, wasn't it? Alright, folks, here you go. Stardust. A recent addition to Quantic. He is in the blue trunks, and he is playing Protoss to the northeast of this, Kesper Neoplanet S. Versus his opponent, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Coming out a second time for his team. Able to take down Apocalypse's Reign of Terror. And now starting the slow rebuilding process. So one could say that this game, it was post-apocalyptic. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Is going to have to deal with another Protoss opponent. Stardust, alright. This, I've got to attest, I don't know much about him. What I do know is that in his first Starcraft 2 match, he actually beat Roro, if you can believe that. That was pretty hardcore. He was up until very recently teamless, so not a huge amount to be said about him, but we'll see how it goes. Alright, Nexus goes down. Is able to get that wall off quite nicely. Yu-Gi-Oh! Can't really do a huge amount about it. Cannon finishes off, and immediately the third base is taken. Stardust scouts it. Knows exactly the kind of reaction that a Zerg would have in this situation. What this also means is Stardust, if he chooses to, could try and put down a proxy pylon up to the top there. Lings are now moving into position, though, because, of course, Yu-Gi-Oh! Knows about that scout. Wants to try and hunt down that probe if at all possible. That would be very, very nice for him. He's not going to get it, though. Look at where it's hidden. Ha ha ha. Sneaky move by Stardust. This could mean that he's looking for that trademark +1 Zealot aggression. Or it could be something else entirely. Again, it's Heart of the Swarm, we don't really know. 100 gas now available, so ground weapons level 1 may start very soon. If that's what he decides to do. Or, of course, we could see that Stargate coming out. There's the +1. Alright. +1 Zealot run by from a proxy pylon in that position on the third base could be potentially very damaging. That third base could be under threat of being destroyed. Obviously, it really depends how much Yu-Gi-Oh! Really wants to saturate that and what he wants to do with it. Roach Warren coming down here for Yu-Gi-Oh! Nice and early, I like that choice. Should allow him to defend against Zealot aggression coming from this direction. He must suspect it. This area right here is so prime on this map for hiding a pylon. And even if it wasn't, you've still got to suspect that one of the two things that are going to happen, especially when you see the forge spinning like that, is that there will be that Zealot and Gateway aggression onto the third base. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is going to start spreading creep towards the corner. I like that. I like that a lot. It's going to give him much more warning. It's going to give him much more maneuverability, especially with slow roaches. Since Yu-Gi-Oh! Has also not started his speed yet, that'll give him a little bit of an ability to fight with those Lings. Stardust actually moving all the way up here with his Zealot. Kind of surprising that he'd want to draw those Lings so close in. Maybe he just wants to loop around here. Zealot will eventually die. Yu-Gi-Oh! Elects not to scout up to the top here. No proxy pylon has gone down yet, so Stardust may elect not to actually utilize that position, but it seems fairly unlikely. Considering the probe is in such a prime spot, it's like, why wouldn't you? Unless Yu-Gi-Oh! Is able to attack in some way, but it seems, again, not likely. No speed on the roaches either. What are you going to attack with, exactly? He's going straight to lair right now. See if he decides to take his third and fourth gas. That would be indicative of whether or not he wants to go Spire. In the meantime, more gateways coming down here. That Ling... Oh, the Ling didn't see it. Oh, man. That could have been nasty. Bit of a roach run by coming in right now. I say run by, more like run in. Directly to a brick wall. Slams his head against the brick wall, loses a roach, and decides that's a terrible idea. This Ling wants to find a proxy pylon, and it's not finding one. That probe is still up there, out of sight, out of mind. In the meantime, the Robo has been scouted, and is it going to see the Warp Prism? No, it's not. Stardust immediately rallies it down there, out of the way, an Immortal and a Zealot being put into that. Combined with possible pressure from a proxy pylon, that could be dangerous. Alternatively, he could actually drop on those roaches and be really, really annoying with it. Very risky, of course. He wants to try and take down the third base by the looks of it. Good place to go. It's not exactly well defended. The Immortal and the 2 Zealots should be able to do a good job, plus a follow-up warp in. With the Twilight Council now finished, he can either start another upgrade or he can look for something like Charge. Oh man, Proxy Pylon goes down and immediately spotted. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is on the ball there. It's a shame that he didn't put it further into the corner. A little bit further away might have given him the opportunity. This Warp Prism has now actually changed course and is moving to the main base instead. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is moving into a position where he should be prepared for it. He's still going to have to deal with the fact that he doesn't actually... Oh, this is a nasty position. Wow, look at that. He doesn't have speed yet. This +1 is going to allow a great advantage against these Lings since they don't have +1 Carapace. They will die very quickly. That Immortal is going to give him a lot of firepower as long as it's properly focus fired here. Stardust elects to pull out, however. He's now attacking the third base. Zealots move into position. However, a couple of Spine Crawlers and Roaches will be able to see that off. Now what does he do with it? Did he decide to actually go for the natural, or does he simply pull back? He pulls away and then pulls back in. Needs to get a warp in of more Zealots if he wants to clean up these Lings. He can't really drop in, and we're going to see Swarm Hosts by the looks of it from Yu-Gi-Oh! I like that. It's a good build. We don't see that anywhere near enough, I feel, against Protoss. Stardust's aggression has been shut down. Actual worker damage, 0. Resources lost, fairly equal. Nothing too dangerous on either side. The Immortal didn't go down. We didn't see gas-heavy units going down on either side either, so... Stardust now rolling forward. Saves that probe quite handily. Moves out with the Militia Core as well, so he's got that Time Warp ability or the ability to recall. So this aggression right here is less risky than it looks. Pylon being put down to reinforce this. However, these Swarm Hosts are about done. Once they are, it's going to be a bit difficult for a force like this to blast its way through. Swarm Hosts do need to move into position. Ling's moving into position. It's a Stalker Immortal force, so these will do fairly well, but the thing is there are still 4 Immortals and Stalkers, so even without Zealots, that works pretty well. The third base now under threat. Immortals at the front to take that damage from the Spine Crawlers, immediately eliminated. And now we need to see these Swarm Hosts actually come into play. The Locust lifetime upgrade has not finished yet. Nice use of the Time Warp there to keep his units out of position. That third is most likely going to die unless Stardust decides not to focus it. Now it is dead. And now he can just recall. He has the option to do that. He doesn't need to lose an Immortal here. He's taking that third base out, and that is absolutely fantastic here for Stardust. That's exactly what he needed. And now, honestly, I would leave. I really, really would. I wouldn't continue to push against Swarm Hosts in an entrenched position. It doesn't make a lot of sense. You've taken his third base out. Now it's time to just leave. He's oversaturated. And he's going to attack you, most likely. It's like, oh, God, I've lost my third base. Maybe I go for you here. That Warp Prism's still in effect. Zealot run by goes into the mineral line, but gets shut down without doing any actual damage. So not too big a deal there. Yu-Gi-Oh! And his Roaches and Swarm Hosts and Lings now moving to the front position. Stardust looking to get aggressive. I don't know about this. Oh, nice. He recalls his Immortals. I was going to say, that was looking dangerous. He had his Warp Prism out of position to deal with that. Needs to be careful. Needs to use that Blink Stalker micro, actually. Otherwise, he will actually lose Stalkers against these 3 units, which is never ideal. Immediately, it lifts up a couple of Warp Prisms. The Stardust is putting on quite the display here. A dazzling one. More Swarm Hosts on the way here. This Stalker drop is going to come in. You don't generally see that. Usually it's Zealots, but hey, we'll take a Stalker drop. That works too. He could also warp in another round of units if he so chooses. With a lot of Zealots, he could do damage here, but it's not really worth it. The damage that he would do, I feel, would be minimal. He has killed 7 workers now, so at least Stardust is actually starting to do damage to the economy of his opponent. This third base is not re-established. It's actually quite late back up because he's been dealing with this aggression. And this aggression is going to keep coming. Stardust keeps hammering on here. He does have a smaller economy. It's really down to the Swarm Hosts. Does he actually have... Yeah, I was going to say, he does have observers on the field, doesn't he? Yeah. He has the blinks coming in to make sure that the Locusts don't do a lot, but there's only so many blinks he can really do. Time Warp now put into effect as well to try and deal with this. He's still losing units to these Locusts, loses an Immortal to it, which is not good at all. He's got to get in there right now. He must destroy this, but then the Lings and the Roaches spring their trap. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is ready for this. but is he ready enough? Does he have the units? If he blinks on top of these swarm hosts and kills them, these locusts misrallied right here. Stardust needs to kill these right now before he starts to get worn down. But with Blink Stalkers, he can trade efficiently even against these swarm hosts. Down go the locusts once again. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is in a lot of trouble right here. Even trying to use changelings to block off this advance. The swarm hosts are still alive, however. More damage coming in. Stalkers being taken out, but blinking happening as well. Oh, this is so difficult to grind his way through. Without Colossus, this is very, very challenging. If he had a high-ranged unit, he would be able to do something with this. Maybe he now blinks into the main base and bypasses the swarm hosts entirely. Really smart play here by Stardust. Then deploys his Warp Prison to bring in another round of units. The locusts are moving into play here. There's a quick blink off and out of position. Gets out of there with the Warp Prism as well. Always nice to see. But he hasn't killed his opponent. 14 workers killed, however. The third base is now re-established for Yu-Gi-Oh! He's also kept the aggression off. The thing about what Stardust is doing right now is that he seems like he has no intention of expanding. He wants to kill his opponent on 2 bases. He's now trying to transition to Colossus. And he hasn't really done the damage that I feel he wanted to, and he's way far behind in supply. Admittedly, a lot of that is taken up with swarm hosts, don't get me wrong, but even then, 16 swarm hosts kind of marching down the middle of the map, if they were able to get in position, could be hugely damaging. The Nexus has already been spotted here by Yu-Gi-Oh!, who is sitting on there with a few changelings and an Overseer. No, we're friendly zealots. We're going to help build. That's what we do. Just give us a shovel. Stardust is now going to try and work his way through this mineral line. Takes out 2 drones. And he might even take a 3rd one. It looks like he will. That's really nice for him. I mean, that's a great trade for Zealot. Hell, if he takes a 4th. Well, look at that. The entire mineral line's going to go down. Unfortunately, he missed micros and ends up getting surrounded and murdered. But hey, that happens. Quick blink takes down the Overseer. All right. Now, here's the question. Here is the big question. Can, with this limited number of units, Stardust deal with these swarm hosts that are now marching towards his 3rd base? He's going pretty much pure Stalker here, which you might think would be good enough, but without area of effect damage, without those Colossi, and without that range, it's very difficult to deal with that many locusts. It doesn't matter how good your Blink Micro is. They're still free units, and they're still hitting you like trucks. They hit hard. They really, really do. That's a damage of 12. Significant. Good attack speed on those things as well. At least more so than you would think. Alright. And those things attack faster than roaches, for God's sake. But this 3rd is taking damage. Do we go for a base trade now? Is that what Stardust does? I guess so. He blinks in. He's taking damage from the locusts. He'll only be able to take a couple more waves. Maybe he's hoping that Yu-Gi-Oh! Moves backwards, but that's not happening right now. Stardust with only a limited number of units attacking. Most of his Stalkers are actually not there at all. Good micro, using the Warp Prism here to try and save as many Stalkers as possible. Doesn't manage to lift up those injured ones, though. How much economic damage has really been dealt here? Honestly, not a lot. Here come those locusts. This is an opportunity. If Stardust can actually take those out, he's not going to be able to. He's been pushed back by the locusts. If he was able to blink past them and actually attack, maybe. The double Colossus production is now coming into play. This is perhaps the last opportunity for Stardust to really catch up. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is now way ahead in supply. His 3rd base is unmolested here. Only 17 workers killed is not enough, in my opinion, to really hold Yu-Gi-Oh! Back. Not with those swarm hosts. Another Zealot run by is going to come in, but it's already met by Lings and takes some damage before it even gets off the ground here. By the time it makes its way there, it's going to be pretty badly injured. These Stalkers are getting chased down as well. It all comes down to this double Colossi production. 3rd base is up but not established. 4th base is up, is now actually established. That's a good move. I like that idea against swarm hosts. Oh, my expansion's under threat? Let me expand out of range of your locusts. And then that won't actually be a problem. Spire is up. No sign of Mutalisks yet. I mean, look at the gas Yu-Gi-Oh! Has banked, though. He could just go mass Mutalisk right now and do huge amounts of damage. It would be ridiculous. Zealots coming in, once again, trying to work their way through the economy of Yu-Gi-Oh! And doing a good job this time around as well. Pretty slow response time there from Yu-Gi-Oh! Losing plenty more drones in the process. That base is probably going to die. I'm pretty sure that he's accepted his fate there. But it's this other base that's the real deal. Yu-Gi-Oh! I think maybe suspects that it's there, noticing there's nobody mining. It's like, oh, you must have another one. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Is going to try and hit it. The thing is, he doesn't have any Mutalisks. He's been banking... I mean, he's floating 2,000 gas. So you've got to imagine he's saving it for something. Ling Run By comes in. Mothership Core is still on the field, so we could see Time Warp employed as well as his cannon ability. And Stardust rolling forward with these Colossi. And he's got a lot of them. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't really have an answer to that right now. But the longer he waits, the worse it's going to be. Can Stardust kill him right now with all of these Colossus before Vipers? Here comes the Hive. The Spire is already up. If Vipers get on the field, then this is going to be pretty unfortunate. Wow, he actually let him take that. It looks like, I think Stardust is just going to go for a base trade right now. This second wave is undoubtedly going to kill this. Now the Colossi come in, and Stardust is like, I've got to kill him right now. I must kill him or do significant damage. If I don't, then I'm dead, because I pretty much mined out my natural. I've definitely mined out my main. My third is being reestablished, but it's taken so much damage. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Has this huge, scary army. Corruptor's now coming into play. I think Stardust may have lost his opportunity here. If there ever was an opportunity and it would have been difficult, then I think it's gone now. And honestly, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is in a really great spot. He's on 3 bases mining. His bases aren't that mined out either. He lost a lot of drones. I mean, he's lost 24, but he's still on the field quite nicely. And once this base gets mined out, considering that his main is already mined, this is going to be ugly. And we're talking about a 2-base mining Zerg versus a 1-base mining Protoss. That's what we're seeing right here. Stardust rolling in again. This army is really small now, and there are also Corruptors coming onto the field. Not a lot against Blinkstalkers with +2 and 5. Actually, is it now 7 Colossus? 9 Colossus. It's huge, but is it enough, more to the point? No sentries here either, so he's relying just on straight-up microcontrol, uses a time warp to slow down his Locusts, but what did that really accomplish? Nice blink forward to try and take the Corruptors out, but if he's not careful, they're going to get caught out of position. He's on creep, he's up against Locusts, he's up against Lings. Not nice, not at all. Colossus kind of getting a little bit stuck here, and he's thinking, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? I've got all this firepower and nothing to do with it. What can I do? How do I kill Yu-Gi-Oh? I must do this. I can't just keep mining off of 1 base. And I can't lose units either. Those swarm hosts are so dangerous. On the plus side, his opponent is maxed out right now, and there's no sign of Vipers coming in. So at least he's got that in his favor. No Blinding Cloud, no Abduct. Stardust moving in again, trying to defend this base. He will be able to do that. He uses yet more energy on that Mothership core to defend it, but this huge run-by is going to hit. And I don't see Stardust being able to defend that. He's got no units in position to do it. Yu-Gi-Oh! Misrallying those units. Oh, maybe. Oh, is he doing that? Oh, he's so smart. Unfortunately, it was slightly mistimed, but you get what he was trying to do there, right? He was trying to move those into position to actually intercept those units. And here comes this engagement, and it's not looking good already for Stardust. He is already up against it, losing a Colossus before he even begins here. Blinkstalker comes in, Corruption Spell applied. 4 Colossus. He was on 9. He lost so many already. Taking down this 4th base, that sounds great and all, but what is he mining from right now? Where's his income coming from? It barely is. He's barely mining anything. That 3rd base is trying to be established, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Is already right on top of it, and Stardust looks like he's not going to be able to do what he needs to do. He did a great job. He did good aggression early on, but using those Blinkstalkers, he wasn't able to get the kill he was looking for. I think really that was a big 2-base play designed to kill Yu-Gi-Oh! And it didn't. Yu-Gi-Oh! Stayed resilient the entire way through, and now as a direct result, is well on the way to winning this game. 166 to supply to 80. Stardust is losing units left and right. This is going to be a GG very soon, I think. No observer either. He can't even see the swarm hosts, and another Colossi falls. Oh, man. Yeah, Stardust is on the ropes right now, and there's the GG. Nicely played. Yu-Gi-Oh! With an excellent performance there. Puts another one on the board for his team. Root playing catch-up right now, 4-3. Stardust was not good enough to fix the problems that they had. Who does Quantic send out now? Do we see Center come out for Quantic? There's a possibility. We'll find out after this break, folks. Do not go anywhere. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the next game is coming up, and as I suspected, Center will be brought out onto the field here for Quantic, so it's going to be a Zerg versus Terran. Let's see if Yu-Gi-Oh! Can handle this. Intriguing. So, Center used to be ex-TSL, for those of you who do not know. It's pretty good, but he hasn't really had much of an opportunity to prove himself. Comes out here for Quantic after Stardust. And if he loses, well, I mean, Quantic has the opportunity to bring out Apocalypse again, which they very well might, or, of course, they could send out Hyun for a ZVZ. We shall see. Alright, we are in the game and ready to rock and roll. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to bring you Quantic's Center. He is in the blue trunks. He is playing Terran to the northwest of the Akalon Wastes. Versus his opponent, it is Roots Yu-Gi-Oh! Who is on a tear right here. Heroic effort thus far. Pretty happy with his performance, especially after he slipped up early. lost and went up against Apocalypse again and was able to defeat him that time. So things are looking pretty rosy for Yu-Gi-Oh right now, but he still has a long way to go. Playing on match point from that many points down is tricky, to say the least. Alright, well, what do we see coming out from center? Good question. Obviously, Hellbat drop, Widowmine drop, very effective builds in this particular matchup, utilizing and abusing the Medivac to its fullest possible potential. Gonna see an expansion, by the looks of it, from Yu-Gi-Oh straight away. Don't really see why you wouldn't do that. Could be pull first, but you never know. Unlikely to see any funny business at this stage. Barracks coming down. Question is, do we see gas? We do, actually. Gas on 11. Alright, so to be expected that we might see a Reaper coming out fairly early here. Not the worst map to do it on, definitely not the best either. Pretty annoying, though. You've got these kind of areas here are the areas that the Reaper can get in. It can't get in here. And, of course, this being a symmetrical map, same problem. Spiky, can't get up there. You can, of course, jump into the natural and just be generally annoying with it, but once this Reaper hits around that kind of time, depending on whether or not he decides to save up for a couple of Reapers, this hatchery may or may not be done by then, so we'll see. We'll see what kind of damage he can do. There's no... I mean, there are other reasons to do this, but I would expect a Reaper, and I'd be very surprised if there wasn't one, especially since he's not building a Marine right now. And, uh-oh. Well, that's not a good start. Not a good start at all. Looks like we're getting some fairly severe lag right here for center. There we go. Reaper is now in play. Lag during Reaper play? Not what you want. Lag anytime you don't really want it. This, in particular, disastrous, potentially. It's all on it here for center as well. He's got to finish things for his team after things went horribly wrong. After the menace by the name of Yu-Gi-Oh came into play. Revealed his particular deck. That's a lot of pressure for center. It really is. If Apocalypse can't kill him, you gotta wonder who can do it. Stardust can't kill him. Who takes out Yu-Gi-Oh? Especially when you've already lost Hyun in your lineup. Alright, spawning pool is down. Gas being taken here by the Zerg player, and the single Reaper is on its way over the map. Second Reaper will follow up. As I said, unless it's... Whoa, yeah, pause, okay. Considering the lag, that is not remotely surprising. Yeah, considering the... attempt at Hellion Reaper, which failed magnificently from Apocalypse, I don't really see that build happening again. But we will see. Alright, looks like he's about ready to go. That's always nice. Everything good? Yep, 3, 2, 1, and we again. Cool. Alright, here comes the Reaper. What can you do with it? Well, hatchery's done. And there's nothing there. So, you scout it, but you can't kill it. Obviously. So you've got to go for the main. That's your only real choice. You land just before Queens hit. And this is nice because it's a really small map, so you end up there pretty quickly. So you take the Lings out. Great micro, actually, from Yu-Gi-Oh! So far, actually. Keeping these Lings alive significantly longer than I would have expected. Also delaying. I mean, he knows he can't kill her with the Lings. He wants to get the Queens out, and then he can throw the Reaper back. Ooh, and the Reaper... Oh! Oh! You sneaky, sneaky devil! Look at that. Doesn't save it, but it was a sneaky, sneaky devil nonetheless. Plus, this lag can't be helping. Good lord. Yeah. Center lagging hard in this game, unfortunately. This is all being played on the Korean server, by the way, so there is no real excuse for that. It's just, it seems like Center's internet connection is having some serious problems. This is not the time for that to happen. Not at all. So, damage-wise, Reaper kills a drone and a couple of Lings and gets out of there alive. Not great, but not terrible. Factory now coming down here. CC on the low ground, having been spotted. Reaper now moving into a defensive position to make sure that this is protected. And we are looking to see a swap over. Oh, wow, another CC behind that. Super greedy. So if we don't see Widow Mines coming out here, I'll be quite surprised, simply because what a wonderful way to defend your base. What a wonderful way to make your opponent feel a little bit scared about everything. Will we see Widow Mines here? I mean, he could go Hellion, don't get me wrong, but Widow Mines is always a nice choice in my honest opinion, and it will be Hellions. There you go, just to prove me wrong. Always nice. Reaper's coming in again. Try to take down a Creep Tumor. Almost failed to do that as well. Reapers are just embarrassingly weak now, but that's kind of the point. That is kind of the point. Just hoping he hasn't been taking any tips from Apocalypse with Hellion Reaper. Please don't do that build again. It just doesn't seem to work. It also makes no sense. It really, really doesn't. Maybe early game against Hatchery Tech, maybe that works, but I don't know. It's not that good in my opinion. I don't think anyone really believed otherwise. Factory has built 2 Hellions. It's going to build 2 more. Still no sign of Widow Mines. That's okay. You know, he gets to be a bit aggressive. He gets to be a little bit annoying. Reaper's going to deny the expansion. Great use of the Reapers, actually, here from center. Nice little save from Yu-Gi-Oh! To turn that into an extractor before it died, so that's always good. So he's able to get out of there, and the Reaper can't turn around and stop that expansion from going down, so that's always good. Hellions now move into play. Got to engage around the ramp. I don't really see them doing much. Not against that many Lings and a couple of Queens. Even with the Reapers in play, I don't think that's going to make much difference. If he builds a lot of them, then he'll be in a spot where he can do it, but, I mean, I wouldn't run past that myself, really. Then again, I'm not a pro player, so who knows? Maybe he does go for it. Maybe he waits for another Hellion, and maybe he then goes for it and sees what he can do with it. Not entirely convinced that he can do real damage with it, though. Especially not with these evolution chambers there. You can then queen block this area to make it nigh impossible to get past, and then the Hellions just kind of flail around, and they don't really do much, which is unfortunate. Yu-Gi-Oh! Building a lot of backup creep tumors here. Always nice to see. Hellions in position. Reaper's going to jump up. They're going to get some nice scouting information here. They're going to be able to see exactly what they're up against. Try to take down another creep tumor. They fail to do so. Oh, man. These Reapers are bottom of the totem pole when it comes to actual useful information, right? Now the Hellions being just a little bit aggressive and posturing. Center not really doing much because he can't. Doesn't have his starport up yet. Funnily enough, showing no signs of building it either. He's going 2 base and double upgrades, looking for a big, strong ground push. And I don't know if that is actually going to be enough, really. There's the starport, finally. It's so late, though. Starting almost around the 9-minute mark here. And these Hellions haven't really done a lot. They have prevented a drone transfer to the 3rd base. But considering that these bases are only just saturated, I don't feel that's too big a deal. Queen's now pushing this away. Nice transfuse work there by Yu-Gi-Oh! To make sure that those Queens do not die. Link Surround comes in. The Reaper bites it. I don't think anyone's going to be sorry to see him go. Widowmine was put in position, but it didn't really do much. I think it just detonated on 1 Ling there. So, not really a huge deal up to this point. Obviously, the Widowmine is coming into play again, and once it does, well, that could be dangerous. I think he's trying to bait him out there. If it hit a single Queen, it wouldn't even be that bad. It doesn't. I don't think it kills a single Queen, does it? No, it doesn't. Only 125 damage there. Last I checked, they don't have shields. That would be really weird. It's coming in Legacy of the Void. It's not. More barracks on the way. The starport hovering and not really doing anything. There we go. Swap finally comes in, so we will see those medevacs coming out. It took a long time, though, and this contain doesn't seem to be all that effective. Nice transfuse work. Again, takes down the Widowmine, and oh no, I took damage. Quick, spend some energy. Not a problem anymore. Unless it hits a big clump of Banelings or Lings, that is not going to be something that he has to worry about too much, in my opinion. Alright. Well, what do these Hellions do? Nothing. Not much, really. Restricted his opponent a little bit. It did allow him to finally establish his 3rd base here. So that, I guess, helps quite a lot. That's assuming, of course, that Yu-Gi-Oh! Was going to try and get aggressive anyway. It was a contain. It was not a hard contain, but it was a contain. It didn't kill much, but it did keep his 3rd base behind it secure. So I suppose you can't really blame him too much for that. This lag is not keeping him secure. I can tell you that for a fact. This is not going to be helping him at all. Nothing we can do about it, though. Again, the lag is on his end. He's the only guy lagging here. So what were we supposed to do about that? Medevac's now on the field. Okay, I'm going to have to... I don't know, it could actually be the other barcode. That's actually a fair point. I don't know which barcode it is. There's 2 barcodes in this game. I don't know if it's Yu-Gi-Oh! If it's center lagging, or if it's the other barcode. Alright, here's the thing. Don't use barcodes when you're doing observation. It's really confusing. I kept thinking this entire time it was center, but we don't know. We don't know. Who's going to play Count the Barcode? Alright, well... Oh, Widowmine shot goes off and connects. Doesn't hit many of the Banelings, though, so perhaps not so good, but the Queen's caught out a little bit here, and here comes the stim. Still, though, Yu-Gi-Oh! Not actually taking that much damage. Having great sustain here. In the meantime, however, he is up against this 3-base Terran that's on 72 workers, give or take. Mutalisks and Ultralisks, together at last, I guess. What a delicious sandwich that'll be. Only 3 Mutas coming out, which is a kind of odd move. I guess maybe it's used to scout and try and deny drops. I mean, it's not going to do much against that many Marines. The Ultralisk Cavern on the way. First time we've seen that in this particular series. It works. It does work. I mean, it's a little early, I would say, in terms of the upgrades, but it's not bad. I mean, he's up to Hive Tech. He's in a good spot. He's defending these 3 bases. He does really want to take a 4th. And this SCV is saying, nope, you're not going to be doing that anytime soon. I'm just going to sit there and prevent you from doing it. But now what we have to see, I feel, from the Terran is some straight-up ball and drop aggression. Or drilling claws. Wow, an upgrade we don't see all that much. Indicative that you want to use a lot of Widow Mines, which is great if your opponent is doing a lot of Baneling nonsense. You can burrow one right in the center of the Banelings and detonate it before your opponent can even respond to it. Very, very nice. Viking's going to pick that off. The Mutalisk will be spotted, or maybe it won't pick it off. Okay, it's just going to ignore it. It's like, oh god, Mutalisks! Ah! Yeah, I'm really bad against Mutalisks. I probably shouldn't have shot those, but hey, there you go. Widow Mines, 3 at a time coming on right here. The Biomine composition with drilling claws. I love it. This sets up all sorts of possibilities for crazy flanks and maneuvers. Missile turrets coming up right here against a fairly small flock of Mutalisks. This should do the job, especially if that second one gets up. That would be unfortunate. Immediately driven away, so those Mutas aren't going to do anything right now. Here comes the push. There's also a drop onto this potential 4th. That could get denied, and then we're going to see just how effective these upgrades will be. Here's the thing. Ultralisks don't really care about Widow Mines. they don't care about much. 4th base is being denied nicely, and actually that was not a great Baneling trade. I think it was 3 or 4 for 2 Marines. Not awesome. Once these Widow Mines get into play, it could be dangerous, but again, with 4 Ultralisks on the field, how much are these Widow Mines really going to do? Marauder count is at 3. He is building 4 at a time now. He's got a smell of what's cooking. Nice Baneling connect right there, and those Medivacs are probably going to die. Always nice to have a few Mutas here and there just to make sure that they do. Spore Crawler in a wonderful position. That Medivac's like, I should not have got out of bed this morning. That was a dreadful plan. Yu-Gi-Oh! In a good spot right now as a direct result of that, but he is up against it. He has so many units he has to kill. 181 supply for the Terran, 135 for Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a really small army here, and he's up against Widow Mine after Widow Mine. They're all over the place, and they can burrow anywhere. They can burrow in 1 second. How do you deal with that? It's very difficult. Oh, it's another Widow Mine. Off goes a bunch more Lings as well. Ultras have been spotted. Upgrade comes into play, looking for 3-3. Going to be pretty late on that, though. You'd expect to have 3-3 maybe done when the Ultras came out, but he wanted earlier Ultras. As a result, they're a little bit weaker. So they're up against 2-2 Marines and Marauders and lots of Widow Mines. Marine drop comes in, looking towards drop on the 3rd right here, and there's not a lot to resist it either. This should work pretty well. More drones being killed. Another attempted push runs right into a bunch of Ultralisks. Just Banelings connect. I think there was maybe a Widow Mine in the center that actually killed more Marines than did anything else. But that was a big deal in terms of that denial there. Those Marines will now get cleaned up. A single Marine may survive to tell the tale. Nice. The Marines survive. A stim goes in. And more drones being killed. This shouldn't have happened, but it did. There we go. More damage being done. This is nasty now. Yu-Gi-Oh's down to 52 supply in terms of his worker count. That's bad. 35 workers killed, another big drop. Widow Mine's now moving into position as well to deny reinforcements. Here comes the Pro, and the lift as well. Oh, nasty! See how cool drilling claws are? Big engagement comes in. Nice use of the Banelings right there, but is it going to be enough? 115 to supply to 192. Big stim forward again, smashing those Ultralisks to pieces in a great engagement area, I feel, with no Lings coming around the back to flank. Attacks are continuing to go down. This big drop in the main base is devastating the economy of Yu-Gi-Oh! He is down to 44 drones against 75 workers. Another drop comes right into the main, evading the Broodlords entirely. Ravens now being deployed on the field. Everything's going in favor of Center right now. He is in a heroic effort looking to close this series out for Quantic, and it looks like he is going to get it with a fantastic use of Biomine. He's doing the job so very well, being able to get up that greedy 3rd behind the Hellion expand. And then, of course, being able to stop his opponent from attacking him at any point during the game. This will finally get cleaned up. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is still in it, but for how long? The natural just fell. Center smashes forward. GG, and there it is. Quantic finishing out the series 5-3. Yu-Gi-Oh! With a brave effort for his team. A very brave effort. But it was not enough, I'm afraid. Apocalypse was able to wreck his way through the Root roster, and a resurrection of Root's Yu-Gi-Oh! Resulted in a couple of maps back on the board. A brave attempt, but Center was a little bit too much for Yu-Gi-Oh! 5-3 for Quantic. An excellent result there for them. They've got to be happy about that, especially considering their loss against Quantic. They needed points back on the board. That's exactly what they got. Nicely done. Center putting on a great display there. Awesome use of Biomine and Minus Opinion. Yu-Gi-Oh! Such a good player, but just not quite enough. Also kind of impressed with Stardust, although I feel it was a bit indecisive. He had some cool builds, but I don't feel that he was quite on top of it. So hopefully we'll see a little bit more from Stardust in the future. Here from Quantic. It's a scary roster, man. Quantic is becoming a very powerful Korean team very quickly at this stage. Well, there you go. That's it. That's your Acer Teamstory Cup for today. Thank you very much for watching, folks. It is much appreciated. I'll be back tomorrow with 2 matches. Yes, there will be 2 matches. Let me tell you what they are. Should be able to find that out very quickly for you. If I recall correctly, let's see what I'm casting here. Where's my calendar? There we go. Millennium versus Liquid. It's going to be a cast. Apparently I'm casting that at 9 in the morning. Why the hell did I agree to that? And Quantic Esports versus Mouse Sports. Quantic Esports Club versus Mouse Sports. That is 2:30 to 5:30 Eastern. 9 o'clock in the morning for Millennium versus Liquid. It's 9 till 12. Should be a busy Friday for me, I think, in terms of the casting. Thank you very much for watching, folks. As always, you have been a fantastic audience. Sorry for the disconnect in the middle there. Not really a lot I could do about that. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you to Acer and, of course, Intel for powering the Acer Teamstory Cup and to Take TV for setting all of this up. My name's been TotalBiscuit, and I will see you next time.